Filmmakers, it's time to use Soldo. Soldo is a payment solution that replaces petty cash given to employees and production assistants when in prep, on set, or in post-production. Soldo is a multi-user expense account that helps you control business spending. You can give Soldo cards to some or every employee, to entire teams or even contractors instantly. Transfer funds to all card holders. And you can use Soldo for free for 3 months with the code FilmmakersPod. Soldo.com. Listen for more info in today's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast.
It's the Podfix Network!
Hello and welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
filmmaking,
from indie film to studio films and
everything in between.
How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to
fuck it up.
In our very, very humble opinion, I am Giles Alderson and you are
Dom Lenoir.
Thank you so much for joining us, you wonderful, wonderful listeners. We have for you the stars of Cyrano. It is Kelvin Harrison Jr. and Peter Dinklage. Oh yeah. Kelvin Harrison Jr. has starred in some fantastic movies, including Monsters of Men, It Comes at Night, Waves, Loose, Trial of the Chicago 7, the fantastic TV series Godfathers of Harlem, and Startup, just to name a few. And he is pretty much one of the leads in Cyrano as well. And Kelvin was brilliant. He was really fun and open, and we had a right good chat with him. What it's like working with other actors, what it's like working with directors, and what it's like filming in Sicily.
We also talk about approaching characters and adapting to the director's vision.
And he also talks about what it was like working on a musical and making a film in Italy with the legend Joe Wright. And it was such a delight to chat to Peter Dinklage. Just come back from his lunch, so that was always a pleasure.
Peter Dinklage. Trademarked.
Dink lunch.
Dink lunch.
Then the fantastic Peter Dinklage, we talked why he wanted to do Cyrano in the first place. Obviously, he was in the stage play that his wife, Erica Schmidt, had written, so he'd starred in that with Haley Bennett. He talked about his singing background as well.
He talks about why you would like to work with certain directors, what it's like rehearsing fight scenes, and what you want from a director.
He also talks about his producing work, because he's also a producer, and what it's like prepping for a role. Ah, yes. You guys are going to love this one. Actors out there, this is for you. Directors, this is what it's like working with superstars such as Kelvin and Peter. But speaking of actors, what would you look for? Because we talk a little bit about in the episode about what directors, what they look for with Joe Wright last week, and then the actors here, what they look for in directors in a project. What do you look for, Dom, in an actor? And is there any tips you can give actors out there approaching directors, and also directors approaching actors?
I mean, I think it's a difficult one. If you've not seen someone, you've got to be pretty open-minded. You know, first port of call, I guess, is auditions. I mean, you can usually tell. I mean, I think for me, the first thing is whether it's truthful or not. I'm definitely a fan of internalized emotion. Like, I think it's certainly extremely important for certain roles. Maybe it's not as important for others. There are definitely certain films that are very entertaining where you don't actually have to go that far into that kind of territory, and you can do a very interesting performance that isn't on that scale. But certainly for drama, that's the big thing for me. And then I suppose if I haven't seen that from someone, I might like to see a clip of them doing something in the territory they haven't done, whether that's comedy or, you know, drama or anger or whatever. I think that's important as well, because you do like to, sometimes you can see it straight away, and sometimes you have to sort of see it in something else to get an idea of what someone's capable of.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? You can sometimes tell from... I never used to want to do reels. I never asked someone to tape. I preferred it if we came in the room and had a chat and I got to know them. But I think it was Lucinda who said, look, we haven't got all that much time to do this. Actually, have a look here. We just don't, because she was like, there's rehearsal time. You know, that means we've got to book a studio for longer because you're spending 20 minutes with each person who might not be right. Check out their video first, get them to do a tape. And actually what that made me do was it really did help hone it So interestingly, you go, oh yeah, they're not right. So actually, let's not waste too much of the time bringing them in and spending their time traveling in to an audition. You see the tape and you go, okay, that's not right. And it might not be performance. It might not be look. It just something doesn't connect. But often I've found the ones that I connect with straight away, I go, yeah, that's incredible. I really love that. And then when you're in the room with them, I go, now I want them, you know what I mean? That it's theirs to lose, if you know what I mean. I've already picked my top 5, so it's up to them to battle it out, and I'll probably have 10 in for that recall or whatever. Someone might surprise you as well and do something even more incredible. But I look for exactly what you look for, Dom, is believability. I want them to be truthful. And actually, I look for lies. I look for when they're not telling the truth. Yeah, it's easier to spot.
or unmotivated when there's something that's motivated because they, you know, and again, there's plenty of top actors that are perfectly good at doing that kind of style. But I guess for me, I do tend to look at like whether something's motivated in, you know, from an inside emotion or something that sort of connected them to the story. And I guess that becomes because the end result for me is for someone to feel something, and I think, you know, for that to be correct, it has to be authentic inside the actor, and how they're translating and connecting to the material. So I guess that's always my thing. And you know, as you said, like if you can avoid wasting anyone's time by, you know, seeing at least enough to warrant getting them in the room first, you know, doing things over Zoom, that's a good step for saving money for actors and travel, and you know, saves your time as well. And then when they get in the room, then they've got the chance to do something. And you know, I think just going back to your other point, I think looking for truthfulness, but with something slightly unexpected. And I don't mean making like crazy choices, but I mean sometimes you can see someone that just does like the absolute standard sad, happy, you know, whatever, and they might be very similar to someone else that has that range as well. So sometimes it's combining that into something that's just a bit quirky that makes you think, okay, this is a unique person I haven't come across before, and that's when the character really inhabits life.
Yeah, so true. I think it's really hard for actors because they've suddenly got to learn a load of dialogue and then try and do that on Zoom or on a tape with their mate or their phone in the corner. It's really tough trying to remember all those lines, let alone trying to get nuances of performance. Yeah. But I'm always up for, do you know what? You don't need to know it all. You don't need to learn it or learn a section of it. Be the best at that section, because I'll see something in you and bring you in. If you're not great at learning lines, if you're not great at auditions or in there, it's really tough.
I mean, that's a really good point. And actually, I mean, I saw some kind of article last year talking about this idea, like why do actors have to learn, you know, huge swathes of lines? I mean, you know, obviously it's a useful thing when you come to shooting, but in a way, like I'd rather you gave them, you know, a 30-second or a minute scene that has maybe 2 or 3 different characteristics that they can transition to, and they really focus and make that incredible, than to see them, you know, do a sort of an averagely good performance of, you know, 3 scenes with a whole bunch of stuff to learn when they're trying to juggle getting home from, you know, their other job and you know, all this other stuff. There's just not enough time for it, and you're not getting to see the best of that person. Whereas, you know, if the memory isn't at least, you know, at the forefront of what they're struggling with, then they can focus on the performance.
I agree. I think it's sometimes it becomes a battle of who can learn the lines the quickest, do you know what I mean, and the best. And it's like, it's not about that. So I sometimes like to give them scenes that have hardly any dialogue at all, where they're just listening and then they say a little bit, and then maybe there's another one where they've got a bit more dialogue, but you want to see what they can do. Give them a chance to do that, is what I say to directors out there. And also these days there's all these prompts that you can put on your phone where you can put the whole script on it. You know, you can put the sides that so you don't have to learn them. You can sort of learn them a little bit, but so you can, you know, like a teleprompter. What about the other way around then? How do you approach actors as the director?
I mean, I suppose it depends it depends what kind of role you're approaching for. I mean, if it's through an agent, I mean, you sort of go through the, you know, the usual thing is how do you know, what is going to attract them to working with you? And I suppose it comes down to why you personally think that the role fits them, what you enjoy about their work, why you're going to be a, you know, sort of a decent level production for the agent and the actor to take a risk on. And then I guess other than that, it sort of comes down to script, doesn't it? If you're approaching someone that you want that's at a high level, you've just got to make sure your script's in a really good place. And if it is, then that's it.
Script is so important. It's so key. But I've some of my productions I've written letters to actors, saying why I'd like them to be in the part. There's so many ways you can approach actors. I think it is about you having the best project you can, and if you've got an agent, going through that route. If you know someone who knows them, try that route. But there's the stories of someone who left a package outside Michael Caine's house all wrapped up in a beautiful bow. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying stalk Michael Caine, but I'm saying, if you've got to get your project to these people, you've kind of, but I kind of am. And I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, do something. That's a great story. If you came on a podcast and said that, you'd be like, fair play. So you got to do what you can to get your films made and get it to the right people, because that's what gets your films made. So,
without further ado,
for the important part of this show, first of all, who should we go to? Should we have Peter or Kelvin? Who should we go first?
Let's start with Kelvin.
Great, let's start with Kelvin. Here it is. Sit back, enjoy this brilliant chat, myself and Tom, and Kelvin Harrison Jr. Hey, Kelvin, how are you?
Good, you?
Good, buddy. Very good. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Are you in London?
Yes.
Right now, right?
Yes.
Have you been before? Because obviously you're here doing the press, but have you passed through before?
Yeah, I just pass through. I never get a chance to actually settle down, but it's always doing when I'm doing these junkets and stuff, which is always a treat,
Yeah, no. We live here, and it's still a treat for me. I still love London. It is still a treat, especially where you are now. It's a lovely place. So
it is great.
Enjoy. Congrats on Cyrano, man. We loved it. Especially your performance. It's strong, it's striking, it's fascinating, interesting. Yeah, it must have been a joy when it came to you, when it first was, even mooted that this could be a conversation, especially with Joe Wright directing.
Yeah, man. I think, first of all, I couldn't believe Joe wanted me to be in this movie. I was kind of shocked when he told me, it was like, Joe wants to Zoom you. I was like, who's pranking me? But it was cool. And I had never heard of Cyrano before. So I read the original stage play. And then I was like, I don't know what happened because the language was so dense. And so then they sent me Erica Schmidt's adaptation, and I was like, oh wow, I really have a interpretation of Christian now. And I told Joe about it, and I just fell in love with his innocence and his sincerity and his ability to just be so trusting to those around him. And I really admired it in some ways and wanted to kind of get back to that place and within me and then try to channel that for Christian. So yeah, I was excited. It was cool.
Yeah, no, it totally must have been. I think that's fascinating. You mentioned that, his innocence, because a lot of the characters you play are very on edge. They're exciting. They're informative. Whereas Christian is very much, he falls in love, and that's his mission. And he, like you say, trusts everyone around him. Like you mentioned that, how did you get into that mindset? How did you and Joe, work those angles to find that place for the character?
Yeah, I think it was just, it was taking some of the subtext out. Because I think with those other roles and those other characters, there's so much about what's not being said. And with Christian, it's exactly what's being said. If he's saying it, that's what he means, and there's nothing else to it. And if he hears it, he takes it literally. Everything is literal. Until he starts to recognize that, I think when Christian kind of goes, well, I don't want to be deceitful. Once he goes on that journey, he's doing something that's against his authentic self and against what makes him feel true. Then he starts to have a little bit more of a dialogue within himself. But before then in his life, I don't think that's ever happened. So a lot of it was just being the guy, just taking everything as fact.
Yeah, it must have been quite challenging, because you certainly start off as like a character that's sort of very sure of himself, and ironically, it sort of starts out as this innocent love, and then obviously it gets complicated with with Peter Dinklage's character and how you get immersed in that. I mean, it's quite a powerful ending. Like, were you expecting that as you were sort of reading through the script and like where your character arc was going?
I was hoping for it. I think I was reading it and I was like, oh man, I love how just sweet he is, but also I was like, I really hope he has a moment to say his piece and to say how he actually feels about this, because in a lot of ways, he was put into a situation he didn't want to be in. And I think I don't think he likes it, but I think once again, it goes back to that trusting thing, is that he really trusts this guy. He really trusts, Cyrano. And I think he looks at him as a friend. He says it. He said, I believe we're going to be the best of friends. And he believes that. So it's disappointing by the time we get to it and to kind of go, oh, well, this wasn't what I thought it was. And to have that shift, that loss of innocence I think we all have that moment when we come of age. stage, and we kind of go, whoa, like, all right, I can't actually be friends with everybody, and I can't actually trust everybody. I have to protect me and honor myself in my daily interactions and in how I interact with those I love.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. I think it is something, certainly when I was at university or you're going through that age that your character is, I was like, I want everyone to like me. Why don't they? And you go through that journey, and it's fascinating. The older you get, you sort of go, oh, you realize that not everyone is going to like you, and you got to find your own path. And I think that's perfectly worded there, about Christian there, your character, where he's struggling at that point in his life, and the turn happens, that disappointment for him. How do you cope with playing something like that? What's your journey? Do you map it out in terms of, okay, at this point, I want this to happen, I'll start thinking about this then? How do you as an actor approach something like this?
Well, a lot of it happens I obviously did my prep before I got there, and I had this whole idea of it, and I knew this general shape. I was like, comes into a new town, and I understood that to an extent, because I was like, okay, well, Peter and Haley have done this play before, Erica, Joe, they all, the couples thing. And I was like, I'm going to be the new guy. Perfect. Okay, so that's how I'm going to approach that first half. Second half, the friendship, I was like, well, these are the beats that need to happen. These are the relationships that make sense. Cyrano and Christian are their brothers, and because both of them feel misunderstood. Roxanne, both the girl that we admire and love, but do we actually know her that well? Do I want to get to know her? You ask a lot of questions. And how do I prove myself that I'm worthy enough? And do I trust Cyrano and him telling me that I am? But also, I want to show. I also know I want to be loved for my authentic self. So trying to have that conflict going on, and by the end, I kind of shaped that out. But once we get to the rehearsals, it's so much about listening to the other actors and hearing their beats and what their characters are bringing to the table. Because the movie doesn't work unless the trifecta works, and unless you're complimenting what the other actor's doing. So, certain shifts, like when we were doing the balcony scene, and Cyrano is basically, I listened to the whole "Overcome" song, and that's a big moment because I have to justify it to an extent. He's sitting there and he's like, "Did I not hear the song? They love each other."
Yeah, exactly.
That was a really big, moment, I think, for the audience and your character, because it's the first moment when he sort of doubts whether the ends justifies the means.
Yes, exactly. And so these are the moments that kind of happen on the day where you kind of go, "Oh, okay." These real time realizations about Christian, and that's when he's developing his maturity and his a new intellect, a new mindset, and that's coming from instinct, that emotional intelligence that a lot of us have, but now placing it in context.
I mean, I think that was one of the things that I found quite moving in a way, is that the character is almost looking for this bravery with the woman, and actually in the end it's in war that he finds that bravery. And I guess that's the kind of the tragedy of it as well, is that he doesn't sort of get it in the way that he expected. But it was certainly a surprise, and it was certainly a very moving way for it to go. But it's certainly a nice film in that it does tap on that kind of old style romance. I mean, it's something nice from sort of classical cinema to tap into, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really just, it's always nice to kind of do the love scenes and to climb up the little pipes to go kiss the girl. You know what I mean? Like, it's just real, it's classy.
Yeah.
If you're not climbing a pipe, why bother?
Well, exactly. I mean, why would come on, what a gesture.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about working with Joe Wright then, and your relationship there and how that can develop, and generally working with directors and what you like and don't, and what works for you. We're a filmmaking podcast, so we focus on what it's like on set and how that works. So what's your process? And we'll start with Cyrano and working with Joe on this, and then maybe we can develop into other parts as well. But what do you like from a director, and what worked with Joe?
I think the first thing, even when I'm in the Zoom, even though I was thrilled to have Joe call me, I was still like, but now, Joe, you have to explain to me why I need to be in this movie, because I don't want to, my biggest thing is if I'm not supposed to be there, I don't want to be there. I want the best guy to get the role that serves your vision. So what is your vision? And he really painted it out for me beautifully. And I think, he was really interested in just the vulnerabilities of men. And our our need to want to put up a facade or to have a certain bravado and thinking that's the only way to get the girl, but ultimately, do we always actually think that about ourselves? And getting into that psychology, and that was really fascinating. And so when we were on set, it was a lot of it's just like figuring out how do we make Cyrano de Bergerac make sense? How do we bring this modern take to it all? And I think that's where Erica and Peter come in a lot, because they did do this stage production, and it felt, it was very different from the movie, from what they've told me and from what I've seen of the pictures and stuff like that. And I think they brought a grounding to it and to Joe's fantastical world. So it was always a collaboration in asking questions and trying different things. And I think particularly working with me, I come from an indie background, so it was really hard for him to, probably make me get into like a certain blocking. Like some days we would show up and he'd be like, well, because of the shot, and in order to have this shot, the blocking is set this way. And the actor has to kind of justify these beats. I come from a world where the camera's going to follow me wherever I go. You know what I mean? Totally. So I can just live in the moment. And so that was a challenge. And so we got to a point, Joe and I, where he was just like, well, I'm used to working a certain way, and I've had to relearn how to work with you. And he said it was a privilege, and I was like, I'm glad it was a privilege and not like a pain.
Yeah, sure. Oh my God, this guy can't stand still.
Yeah, but it was a masterclass in so many ways, because you start to understand the power and the intention behind blocking, and how it propels a story, and how beats play into movement, and how we set up a shot so that we can get these beautiful landscapes to tell a larger story for the audience subtly, because he's very specific, this guy. I mean, there'll be certain scenes people like, that candle needs to be blown out and only these two need to be lit. And I was like, I would have never noticed it, but that's why you're the director, Joe.
So does that require like more in terms of prep time, and is it easier if you do the blocking like well ahead, so you can, if you're going to somewhere that your character doesn't sort of naturally think about going, you can create a justification that works and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, like for example, the poetry salon scene. We actually originally was on a bell tower in Sicily, and Haley and I during rehearsals went up with Joe and the DP, Seamus McGarvey, and we blocked the entire thing. We blocked it. We worked out the beats of the scene, and it didn't work. And so we tried it again a different time. It didn't work. And then by the time we got to this new location, it was beautiful. We used all of the different beats that we had before. Things that did work, things that didn't work, and we kind of found a new scene. So a lot of it is, sometimes the blocking ahead of time really helps. Sometimes it can feel like it's limiting, but I think that's where the collaboration takes place between someone as brilliant as Joe, but also trusting his actors, that they know their characters, and that they've done the work as well, and that they are inspired in that moment. Because that's the biggest thing. It's like, to make choices without inspiration, why? So It's making inspired choices collectively to make a scene work.
I like that. In terms of the singing then, because obviously you have sang before in your films, you have certainly expressed vocal talent, shall we say, in your films as well. Here you've got to hold, this is a full kind of musical in a way, in a certain sense, and you've just got to hold the thoughts and process while you're singing. How did you process that? How did you learn to, like Joe's been very specific, so you necessarily can't move about, so you're in this blocked area. How was your process to connect thoughts within the singing world and the musical side of things? Yeah,
that was actually really challenging. And I think what I did was I started to, when I prepped the scenes, I would make sure that I did the scene, and I would work with whoever I was reading with off camera when I was practicing, and then I would do the songs as a monologue, as if I was saying the song to Peter. And I think sometimes I would even practice it with Peter. I would just say the words. I think in rehearsals, we used to do it sometimes as well. And I think it really allowed us to get back to finding those connective tissues and grounding it so that it's coming from a real place, and that the emotional truth is always there, and that the story beats are, that it's growing in its storytelling, because, every moment has to be, I think about it in musical terms, has to crescendo in a lot of ways, That element was there. And also Joe would always tell me just to keep it economic, because there's always, as actors, we want to throw everything in there. I want to have this moment, and then it's going to be this shift, and then this beat happens because I realized this, and da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, all right, but tighten it up. Because sometimes, we can run through a thought and it keeps it more interesting, or if the pauses are more meaningful when you find the right places for them. Some stuff we don't actually need. So a lot of it was just tightening up the space and allowing us doing the prep once again, and then allowing the scene to kind of just happen.
I like that. You also, you mentioned earlier about working on these indie films, and Waves is a perfect example, Loose, and It Comes at Night, in fabulous films, really indie, and you're brilliant in them. What is it you look for in those projects? What is it in a script that stands out, and also the director, I suppose? What is it that you want that makes you want to do these roles?
I think for me, it's always confidence in the director. I think I really need them to have a clear vision and perspective and point of view on what they're trying to tell. Because listen, any script, I could read it. Actors all know this. This is why we do auditions, is that not necessarily that every actor that comes in is bad, if they don't get the job. It's just they had a perspective that just didn't necessarily align. So I think the same I ask of the director is like, what is your point of view? Do you have one? And if you don't, then, I don't know. If you do, then allow me to see if my interpretation aligns with yours. So I think same goes with Waves. Trey and I had a relationship after It Comes at Night, and Waves was more collaborative than most because I helped develop the script with him. Nice. And so that felt very intimate, and so we just had a language, that was unspoken in a lot of ways. And we're also very close as friends. And then, Loose with Julius was once again, it came back to Julius has an idea of Loose, and my interpretation of Loose served his idea. And then it becomes, here, give me all the prep materials that you want to see as an actor. I'll read the books. I'll look at the interviews. And then I'll start to create the character and dress him. But it starts with those roots in the ground and the trunk of the tree. And then I'm going to put the ornamentation on the leaves. It's like Christmas.
Yeah,
Christmas every day.
Christmas every day, baby.
It's brilliant. You, interestingly, you left school to sort of start your life as an actor. It'd be really interesting to talk about that real quick, and also what advice to other, up and coming creatives would you give at this stage? And looking back, do you think it's the right thing? What would you suggest? Be really interesting.
Yeah. I left school. I went to school for marketing because I didn't know how people were in movies. It didn't really make sense to me. All I know is in New Orleans, I would see trailers outside, and they'd be like, "There's a movie shooting." I was like, "In that little trailer?" I was like, "I don't get it." But I quit. Once I found out, I started day playing and then weekly playing, and I was making money to pay for school. So I was like, "This is kind of dope." Yeah. And one thing led to the next. Next thing I was in Puerto Rico shooting a show called Startup, and I dropped out of school in my last semester, and I was like, I guess this is gonna be my career. Luckily, it worked out. The next year, I got It Comes at Night, and so on and so forth. But I think, specifically to this generation of actors, I would say it's like, I think we grew up in this time, because my thinking was like, okay, I have to go to college because I have to have a career. I have to get a degree so I can make money, and it becomes so much about survival. And life is not meant to just be about survival. Survival plays a part in it, but we should enjoy it, and it should be playful. And I think, especially on this particular movie, Pete shared with me, he's like, you young actors take yourself so seriously. He said, I love that you know all your lines, but it's play. Have fun. And so I guess what I realized I didn't do all those years, I did not have fun most of the time. I was obsessed with being great. I was obsessed with learning with everything I had. I was obsessed with making the best choices with the best directors. I don't regret it. I met great people, and I think that work ethic, in some ways paid off, and I think it led me to being in this movie, but taking it a lot lighter and enjoying the process. It's a gift to be able to be in this business. So recognize that and live
amazing.
You're a legend.
Amazing advice.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kelvin. Really appreciate your time. Good luck with Cyrano. Yeah.
Appreciate you guys too. It's nice talking to you.
Nice talking
great
to you.
chat. See you later,
Take care.
Kelvin.
All the best.
You too. Peace.
Bye. Bye. As most of you know, a couple of weeks ago, we introduced our new sponsor, Soldo. And we had on one of our listeners, Teddy, who is an accountant who wants to make feature films. Now, Tobias, you have been in touch with said Teddy.
Yes, we actually became really good friends over the last couple of weeks, and he started using the service of Soldo and saved so much time that he managed to write the first draft of his first ever feature film script.
I'm very proud of Teddy, and I hope your friendship lives long and forever, because before Soldo, tracking and controlling spend meant risky credit cards, out-of-pocket employees, and endless paperwork. Now, there's a brighter way to pay for your software, your travel expenses, and your food while you're making your feature films or your TV productions. It's also 3 months free 3 months free
just
Soldo.
Put a 4 in there.
How do you mean?
Let me do it. You get 3 months for free using the promo code FilmmakersPod.
Links to that are in the show notes. I'm looking forward to reading Teddy's scripts. Will you send it to me?
I certainly will.
Brilliant. What's the film called, by the way?
It's called The Accountant.
Brilliant. I mean, it
makes sense.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Right, what you know. We always say that on this podcast.
Yeah,
right?
that's why he wrote it that way.
He's a legend. I look forward to hearing more about Teddy's escapades, and we will fill you in on all that as he's using Soldo along the way. Let's get back to the episode, shall we?
Let's go.
Let's go. So there we are. That was Kelvin. What a joy he was. What a superstar he's going to be. He's just going to be huge. I think that's amazing and good for him. There's some really interesting points there. I love how he approaches characters. I love how he does that. And also, I found out some information about him. He dropped out of school to become an actor.
Just like Giles.
At an early age. Just like me. So we're the same person, really. I think he's going to have a huge career. It's going to be amazing. Right. Let's get on to Peter Dinklage, shall we? The star of Game of Thrones, 3 Billboards, Station Agent,
and X-Men Days of Future Past.
I Care a Lot.
Between Two Ferns, the movie, which is a classic. Actually, it's incredibly funny. So funny. I love that.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's a brilliant guy. He also stars as Cyrano in Cyrano, which is in cinemas now. Go watch it. Be blown away by the epic, beautiful scenery and the gorgeous performances and stunning directing. Here he is, the legend that is Peter Dinklage on the Filmmakers Podcast. Sit back, relax, and
enjoy. Maybe stand and relax if you like standing. Could be better for your posture. Just a thought there.
Love that. Here it is, Peter Dinklage, everyone. Hey.
Hey guys.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Excellent.
I'm good. Where are you guys? You in London somewhere?
Yeah, we're in London.
Yeah. Bitterly cold London.
Yeah, bitterly cold. Not Italy, but bitterly cold.
I love this town though.
Oh, isn't it amazing? Yeah, you must be here quite a bit.
Yeah, especially this time of year. Boy, oh boy, you do it right.
To be honest, I don't know what we do. We just sort of get away with it. Everyone seems to like the snow, the sort of the cold. I don't know. Yeah, it's much more of a... I don't know, something that other people like. It's very Christmassy.
Very festive. Very festive this time
I take it you've seen all the Christmas lights and stuff in Oxford Street and around there.
Can't avoid them. No, it's brilliant. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. Well done on the film. We loved it.
Thank you.
You were incredible in the role as well.
Thanks,
really
guys.
loved it. Good. So yeah, like we say, we loved it. We thought you were fab, and we wanted to talk to you about process and why this role. Why obviously you've done it on stage with Erica and stuff with your wife. Who'd written the stage play. But what appealed to you about this role in the first place? What was it that made you want to do this and then made you want to do a film version of it as well?
Well, the first big thing for me was Erica Schmidt, our adapter, original stage director, and then screenwriter. She got rid of the nose. I mean, and I feel like for me, it's a great production, a great story. But personally, it was always an actor and a fake nose. And that sort of, I don't know, just from my corner of the sandbox, that kind of always took me out of it just a little bit, because I know everything what we do is pretend and make believe. And I love prosthetics and all these things. And I've done a number of those things myself, of changing how I look and all of that. But here was a guy who felt he was unworthy of love because he had a big nose. And as soon as Erica removed that from the storytelling, I felt like it's suddenly spoke to everybody. And I don't think my size is a substitute for the nose, because Erica didn't write it for me. She didn't write it for anybody unique physically. So it just suddenly spoke to more. And we didn't sit in judgment of this chap who has a big nose, much like the other characters do. Because I think there's an element where, as an audience member, you do a bit of that, because there's a separation between yourself and the character. And as soon as you remove the nose or whatnot, you can relate to it, I think, and everybody can in a strange way. And then she had the bright idea of turning the long speeches of love into love songs. And she got one of my favorite bands, The National, to collaborate with her. And it just, and then Joe Wright, amazing director, serendipitously came to see the show to support his partner, Haley Bennett, who played Roxanne, and fell in love with Erica's stage production and wanted to make a movie of it. And it all just made perfect sense because Joe has such a real eye for the visual and at the same time a love of the actors. And it just shows in his films. And it was right for this story, having seen his other films.
There's definitely an incredible pace, and I think a lot of it's down to your performances always feel very very engaged and in motion, and also the camera work and the music, of course. How did things for you, because obviously you've done the theatre one, what was some of the main changes in terms of how the film was approached, maybe with that collaboration with Joe, maybe in the script as well?
With film, you're afforded a greater sense of intimacy in terms of what you're going through, and you know, in theater you get to choose what you look at, and usually you're looking at the broad canvas of the stage, and in movies, the director and editor gets to choose who you're looking at during a scene. And I find that to be really, really fun and intimate. And oftentimes Joe would be on the face of the person listening rather than the one talking. And I always find that to be often much more interesting to look at when you're in a scene. So yeah, I just felt like because it was so stripped down, film even lent itself to that more, to getting right up there, up close and personal to all these characters that are going through these real emotional journeys.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a no-brainer then, I suppose, because you've done it for quite a while on the stage, to go, okay, well, if Joe Wright wants to turn this into a film, and Erica, your wife as well, who happens to, you know, she can adapt the screenplay of her own, you know, musical play version of this. I mean, yeah, it sounds like, at the time you must have been like, yeah, this is a great idea. I'd love to be involved.
Especially a family affair during the pandemic. Everybody went over to Noto, Sicily. It felt like the old days of
really
solving things creatively instead of financially. Under the restrictions of the pandemic, we were forced to make a film that way. But you find a way, and life finds a way, and art finds a way, and movie making finds a way, and our determination really saw us through. I was so happy to be where everybody was so happy to be working again. So it had that spirit infused in it as well.
Yeah, it was certainly a difficult time, and so it's amazing you're able to make this under those kind of conditions. I mean, in terms of your sort of, you know, you've received the script. Was there much time for rehearsal on this? I mean, you mentioned there was a lot of solving problems. Was that due to being quite short on the rehearsal time? Is that part of your usual process?
Well, quite often some actors don't enjoy rehearsing for films. They like the spontaneity that it brings. But for this one, it was really, and I understand that, but for this one, it was essential, because we had a lot of fight choreography, and we had singing, we had vocal lessons and all of that sort. So we had about a month and a half of long days doing both. But and at the same time, what's most beneficial to a core group like that is to just get familiar with each other. I had a head start with Haley because she had done the stage version. But, you know, when you're thrust into a new experience like that, it's really nice to become familiar with everybody and comfortable with everybody and learn everybody's sort of skill sets, and, you know, and do the dance, and rehearsals are the opportunity to explore all that as well, let alone getting down all the singing and choreography down.
Was that challenging, like balancing the choreography and the sort of the acting side of things, I suppose, and the singing?
Yeah, I mean, the only real choreography I had was in the fighting, in the stunt coordination department, and that was just a great thrill. To sword fight in the beginning, and then in the middle somewhere I fight off a bunch of guys, and we had a great stunt team. Eunice Huthbart, our amazing stunt coordinator, and her team, just, you know, they just were fantastic, and they're great at making you feel safe and hopefully making you look a little cool.
And you did.
It's just because of them and the hard work they put into it.
Yeah.
They were really encouraging and supportive.
Yeah, but you look brilliant. I love the fight scene on the stairs and all. It's just brilliantly well done. And it's very Joe Wright as well, in terms of his, I'm going to try and do this as a Warner type thing. It wasn't, of course, but it had that feel about it. And it was just so well made.
Because you have to, if you don't do it as a Warner, you're not really experiencing it like Cyrano's experiencing it. You're experiencing it as a moviegoer. And you want to, like, you know, it's those great moments of when you do things in a Warner. It's like the Wonder of Children of Men, the famous one. Alphonse Cuarón does when they're in the car and they're being pursued by those people, and they have to be done for a reason, because you're going on a journey with the characters, and you have to experience it almost, and it's the closest way of experiencing it as the characters are experiencing it. If you cut away from it, you're taken out of it a little bit. You're given a respite. You're given a break from it.
Yeah.
Even if you cut between two different actors, you're subconsciously you're given a rest from it. And you shouldn't be in these certain things. You shouldn't be. So it's just smart movie making.
It's beautiful movie making, which means it must have been a little bit more difficult for you, because obviously doing a fight scene and stuff, it's easy to cut away and go, okay, we'll get that shot, come around, get that shot. And some big action stars like to shoot that way because it's knackering for them.
Right. And sometimes you basically you have to for safety reasons.
For sure.
In terms of stuff like that.
Yeah. But here you're on wires, and I imagine you're being pulled up, and then you have to unclip and run around. Was a lot of rehearsal gone into that choreography side for you, and was at least sounds like it was a lot of fun. But it'd be really interesting to hear it. Now is fun, but the time
do all that on real sets and real locations. We did that. We did it about 10 or so times, because if you mess up, you got to start from the beginning. Yeah. We shot it at night, obviously. So we shot from about 9 a.m. to the sun rose, and we got about two or three that were spot on, and they just selected the best of the 2 or 3 one. But it's certainly a lot of fun, and it's like going to the gym. It feels good. It's exhausting, but you feel all the better for it.
Yeah. Because you had done quite a bit of that work in Game of Thrones and some of the other work as well. A little bit, but not. I feel like here you really shone, and I thought, like we said before, it's just fantastic performance.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean, if every other character is talking about what a skilled swordsman I am, you've got to
show up.
I got to live up to that reputation.
Yeah. Did that? I mean, obviously you've done it on stage as well, but obviously it is different on the film version. But in terms of rehearsal and working with directors, what is it you want from a director during that point? What is it you hope to cling on to?
You always have to have a sense that they know exactly what they're doing at all times, but at the same time, they're not closed off to your interpretation and to your ideas about possibilities of what we could make it into. That's the key to a really good director. You need to have somebody to support you and have your back and have answers to your questions, but not be locked off in how they see it and unable to be open to other interpretations. Because filmmaking is it's director's art form, but it's all about collaboration, and it's all about what you bring to it as well. And if that's being overlooked, then that's not good. The strength and focus of a director shouldn't mean overlooking everybody else's strength and focus.
Great advice.
It's not an oligarchy. It's a democracy.
Yes. Yeah, because you also produce as well. Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff on your slate that you are producing. Is that something for you that you always wanted to do more of?
Yeah, I think it's not an uncommon story for an actor to start to want to get on things on the ground floor. When you're an actor, you're brought in very late in the game. So much work has gone into the movie making process before you even get there.
Indeed, yeah.
Before you're even cast, from script development to production design to costumes and everything. We're just one part of a huge production. So yeah, I'm really curious and interested and wanted to get involved on the ground floor. And that's what my production company does. And we're producing a number of things in film and television. And I just, I'm still quite often confused at what a producer does. But what I know what a producer does, good producers do well, is get really good people together, strong work people that will really collaborate very well, and
team building.
Team building. I love it.
Just as a final question to you, if you could give yourself any advice when you were starting out, or any moments in your career where you felt really challenged that you'd give yourself some advice, could you suggest anything for our audience?
Well, somebody once said that perseverance plus talent equals luck. I think that's really true. I sort of doubted that when I was young. I thought I had a bit more of an edge to me. And I thought, it's like the Groucho Marx thing. I'd never want to be a member of being a part of a club that would have me as a member. But it was like a flip of that. For me, it was, I never want to be a part of that club because they don't want me as a member, or they want me in a specific way. And I'm not interested in being that way because of my size. You're stereotyped quite often, and I just wasn't interested in doing that. So, but I would just tell myself to just persevere and stick with the tribe of fellow artists and writers and directors and actors that that are supportive and stick to it, because it'll take a while, but be patient. It'll work out.
You're a legend. Thank you so much for your time. Cyrano's amazing. You're brilliant in it. Congratulations.
Thank you, Peter. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you, gents. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Remember, you can go out there and make your movie. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. We will see you next Tuesday, as always. See you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
The Filmmakers podcast is kept going by your generous support. To hear some bonus content from today's episode and future content, subscribe to our Patreon.